We've just had Pride Month. Every major corporation plastering the rainbow flag across its products, buildings, TV ads, you name it. A lot of activists, by the way, who know what they're talking about, name it pride washing. Big brands covering up their actual behavior with superficial marketing gimmicks. But here is an interesting idea. Why not follow Pride Month in June with American Pride Month in July? Here's the man whose idea that was. Biotech entrepreneur and author of the upcoming book Woke Inc., Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, great to see you. This was such a cool thing when you put this idea out there, American Pride Month. What's behind that? What were you thinking of?
Well, Steve, I've just been taking a lot of time myself to remind myself of the stories that make us proud to be American. I gave the commencement address at my high school this year, and I got into an argument with a high school student afterwards who wanted to make the case for tearing down the Jefferson Memorial, for tearing down statues of Thomas Jefferson because he owned slaves.
Wow.
And I couldn't get anywhere with him. But where I did get was, okay, we agree to disagree on that, but how about we build one for John Adams instead? He was the second president of the United States. He was a principled abolitionist. He did not own slaves on principle. Why don't we build statues for the people who embody our ideals instead? And so we went a little further, Stephen. How about we talk about John Quincy Adams, his son, who was the first non-founding father president, who not only became president, but was the only president in our history that went back to Congress solely to be an abolitionist, to get rid of slavery, got rid of slavery after providing the arguments on the Congress floor that eventually gave inspiration to Abraham Lincoln later. In fact, John Quincy Adams died on the Congress floor while giving a speech. And the person who actually took him out, did his funeral rites, raised his hands and said, I want to carry his body off Congress, was actually a little-known congressman by the name of Abraham Lincoln. So these are the stories of American history that we aren't teaching our kids. And we have spent so much time talking about how we have fallen short of our ideals that we've forgotten what those ideals were in the first place. And no better time than Independence Day this year to begin to revive those ideals and remind ourselves what it is America is about as an idea, not just a place.
Absolutely right. But thank you. I mean, I didn't know that. I don't know whether everyone in our audience did as well. So you've certainly taught me something just with that one example, and it's such a great example. Do you? I mean, I think that go on, Vivek.
Oh, I was just going to say, if I could go a second further on that, actually, you want to talk about cancel culture today, Steve? There was cancel culture back in the Democratic Party when John Quincy Adams was a congressman. And in fact, if you want to take it one step further, he actually was barred from saying the word slavery. You couldn't say the word slavery on the Congress floor because the South didn't want to debate it. So this guy had already been president of the United States. He said, slavery, slavery, slavery. What are you going to do? Censure me? They did censure him and used his trial of whether he was going to get kicked out of Congress 2 weeks long to use his own defense as the basis for making the case for abolition. So these are the heroes that define American history, and we have forgotten these heroes in the critical race theory obsession of the moment. That let's actually revive the stories that we can all get behind, not saying that we have no problems in our history as a country, but recognizing what those ideals are that we even had an opportunity to fall short of, because even our worst hypocrisies as a country are only made possible by the fact that we have ideals at all.
Exactly, that's right. That's why we need to remind everyone about it, because otherwise this whole thing about what we're aiming for is just lost. Quickly, do you see this? I mean, you see the whole month, right? American Pride Month. That's
Absolutely.
What I liked about your idea.
Absolutely. It's July 4th. 1776, that's the date of the Declaration of Independence. It is the year of not just the Declaration of Independence, but the wealth of nations, capitalism, democracy, both of America's parents in one. Let's take the month of July to use that to say that, you know, kids, you're home at summer break, but you can't just take this for granted. You didn't just inherit this country. You ought to play a role in building it. And one of the ways you play a role in building it is learning about it first. And so, yeah, we can have our Pride Month in June for any other number of causes or in any of the other months of the year. That's fine. But let's take 1 month, the month of July 4th, Independence Day, to create a Pride Month for America.
Fantastic. Such a great idea. So simple, so great, so important. Vivek, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Steve.